Introducing a new podcast. Karen Hunter is awesome.
If you like me on SiriusXM Urban View Channel 126, you're gonna love me. And Karen Hunter is awesome. Hey, this is Karen Hunter, host of the Karen Hunter Show on SiriusXM's Urban View. Karen Hunter is awesome is an actual podcast to bring heat and energy and knowledge and power. A 1-2 punch that I don't think you get anyplace else. Tell the truth. So check out the podcast wherever you get your podcast. You will not be disappointed.
Karen Hunter is awesome. A new podcast from Karen Hunter.
Joe Biden gave a farewell speech, something that every president does not do. Matter of fact, you know, the last time T. Rump was in, he did not do it. Matter of fact, he led an insurrection instead of bidding farewell. Instead of being a gracious leader, he led a group of people to the Capitol for destruction and division. Joe Biden last night, and I was thinking as he was giving this speech, where are all of the comments about his dementia? I mean, it was fever pitch, the media around the clock, to the man had to step down. You couldn't stop talking about how old, and yes, that debate was painful, but you know what else is painful? The next 4 years, about to be real painful. You know what was painful? The 4 years previously, kind of painful. Here we are, you know, and while I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time lamenting, something that Tyler Merritt writes about in his book, This Changes Everything, I do want us to sit in our own process. And today, in Karen Hunter's Awesome, the podcast, I brought back a podcast that I did like 4 or 5 years ago, where I looked at Trump versus Xi Jinping, the leader of China, and the differences between these two men. But also, you know, we're going to be hearing a lot about China, a lot of TikTok and red page or whatever. It's like some stuff is happening in our social media spaces, but also I think globally there's a lot going on with Israel. And I mean, it's just, there's a whole geopolitical swirl that could probably make our heads spin, but I want us to focus on us. There was some comments last night, you know, about Biden. There's a picture that was going around of Jill. So off to the side, and Joe Biden references this, and we'll play a couple of clips from that his family's everything. And then he talks about Kamala Harris and Doug being family, and they were all sitting off to the side. And there's a picture of them. It's Doug Emhoff sitting next to Kamala Harris. And then sitting next to Kamala Harris is Jill Biden. And Jill and Doug are holding hands in Kamala Harris's lap. And people are like, that's so weird. That's so weird. And I was like, I don't know the trauma bond that these folk must have. Because not only did they go through a presidency that they had to pick up the pieces from a whole insurrectionist and try to put the country back together. Try to bring some semblance of unity and American, you know, e pluribus unum to this country after a sitting president led an insurrection, called for the killing of his vice president, stormed the Capitol and sat and laughed while he ate McDonald's and drank Coca-Cola, saying that on purpose. But they came in with the thought that, oh, we can repair this. Student loan debt forgiveness, a whole host of bills and plans to protect everything from Affordable Care Act to lowering the cost of insulin to making sure that people had resources when there were tragedies, making sure FEMA showed up and all of, like, just being there. So last night when Biden said goodbye, I felt some ways about it, because I'm like, man, and then to see people like not understand humanity. And then I was wondering, is that where we are? I'm not giving ground to it personally. I'm actually doubling down on humanity. I'm doubling down on zero tolerance to inhumanity. I'm doubling down on those things, because it's only the people standing in the gap that will make the difference. So we have to stand up and stand in the gap and say, no, that doesn't represent me. I like that they were holding hands in her lap, because it said that they felt something. Don't you want to feel something? Don't you want to be a human being and say, hey, we are about to go into uncharted waters here. I am concerned. It's sad to watch Joe Biden have to give that speech, have to talk about what's coming. And if history's any barometer of what's next, damn, It's about to get real chilly for a lot of us. Real chilly. A lot of people going to find out. And I don't want them to. There's no glee. I'm not sitting around happy about it. But even that, there are people still nasty and mad. You won. Why are you being so evil? Oh, that's your default. That's your due north? That's who you are? Okay. Nothing we can do about that. But there is something we can do about this, about us. So doesn't happen frequently. But I think it was necessary. And I think the things that Joe Biden said were both poignant and cautionary. Let me say it like that. Let's play the first speech part.
I want to warn the country of some things that give me great concern. This is a dangerous concentration, and that's a dangerous concentration of power in the hands of a very few ultra-wealthy people. The dangerous consequences if their abuse of power is left unchecked. Today, an oligarchy is taking shape in America of extreme wealth, power, and influence that literally threatens our entire democracy, our basic rights and freedoms, and a fair shot for everyone to get ahead. We see the consequences all across America, and we've seen it before. More than a century ago, the American people stood up to the robber barons back then and busted the trusts. They didn't punish the wealthy, just made the wealthy play by the rules everybody else had to. Workers want rights to earn their fair share. You know, they were dealt into the deal, and it helped put us on a path to building the largest middle class, the most prosperous century any nation in the world has ever seen.
I often think about these robber barons because even before he started, when he was talking about the oligarchs, I was like, oh, we've been here before. Or maybe we never left. I mean, this nation was founded by robber barons, right? These framers of the constitutions, those men that signed the Constitution and crafted the Constitution. They were all wealthy landowners, all of them. Washington's wife owned 300 human beings. That was extreme wealth. Thomas Jefferson, extreme wealth. Ben Franklin, extreme wealth. They crafted a world that would protect the wealthy. So why would this be any different? Except now the extremity, the levels of wealth. I mean, Elon Musk is on paper the wealthiest man in the world. He has enough money to give each person in the United States of America $100 million. He has enough money to do that. Just about, right? He can give at least all of us 10 million and not miss a beat. Instead, he's using his wealth to create division. Instead, he's using his wealth to create more wealth. Instead, he's using his wealth as a billy club to beat people over the head and to be a bully as he fee-fi-fo on folks left and right. It is ugly what is happening right now, and Joe Biden is absolutely correct. And we've been here before. The thing that really stopped those robber barons was the Great Depression. So it wasn't that Americans rose up. No, they do what they're doing now. Because everybody, I think, imagines themselves as one of these wealthy people. So you idolize them and you put them on pedestals. Not you, not me, but the country. And on the other side of that, and Smith, I don't see this clip on here. People in California are actually coming together after the first wave of just terrible journalism, people saying all kinds of things. Folk are just coming together and supporting each other to the point that the folk, like the Goodwill people, they don't have room for all of the stuff. We played a clip from Jennifer Lewis. She had to come back home with her stuff because there was no more room for the stuff. People are just showing up. They're feeding people. Folk that have restaurants are feeding the people that are helping the people. It is very community. As much as people want to talk about Hollywood and these rich elite, no, the rich elite are the Elon Musk and the Zuckerbergs and the Bill Gates and the Jeff Bezos and the Donald Trump, who is not really in their club. He was Fugazi, but they used him as a Manchurian candidate, and he's doing Peter Thiel's and those folk. Yeah, he's doing their bidding, and here we are. but we know what it is now, and we can read. We could read and organize in a way that maybe our forefathers couldn't. We could do better even than they did because we have more resources now. So we're going to do more. But I'm pleased everybody that I've been checking in with in Los Angeles, and I know folk are still on pins and needles because they don't know which way the wind is going to blow, literally. But the firefighters that came in from Canada and that came in from Mexico that are putting that pink stuff down everywhere, the fire retardant stuff, and fighting ahead of the fire and making sure that people's whatever's left is going to be preserved. All of that is happening in a time when you're not really sure who your neighbor is. Well, Altadena, they're coming together too, even though pretty much people have lost everything. So I'm encouraged. At the same time, I was thinking about whether I should be concerned. I know there was some foreboding when the election night happened. I was like, ugh. And then I sat with that and I said, my grandparents had a much harder time than I will ever have. And I know my great grandparents, who I only knew one of them, my father's grandmother, their time was tough and rough. They lived in a country with no set-asides, no handouts. They had to lean in on community. As I mentioned yesterday, so many stories that I've heard of families broken up. When you read about, some of these celebrities from that period of time, from the 40s and 30s, they may have had siblings and some were sent down south. Some were sent, people figured out how to take care of each other, even if it meant breaking up families to literally make sure that the kids ate and had a roof over their heads. If a auntie didn't have a child, we sent the child to her house. And we may be back at those places without the 40, 50, or forever, because those people understood the assignment. We have gotten into a place where we look at each other not as family, which is why, I'm so proud of the Nubian space. I'm so proud of Urban View, because in many ways, it was with intention that I came in to create family, and we're here. Remember, it was a fight for me. If some of you don't remember those early days, but even the notion that this channel should be cohesive in the sense that, not in terms of ideals, but in terms of feel. Like, we should be able to hand off the mic to the next person. We should be able to support whatever anyone is doing on this channel. And we have. And you have. So I just want to say thank you, too, for buying into it, because you're here with that. You're here with intention. 866-801-8255. So, we're going to continue, at least on this channel. Today, we're going to talk with a lawmaker, a state rep. Some of you need to run for your local offices, for your representatives locally. Everybody lives somewhere. Not everyone should go to Congress. Some of you need to run right where you are, because you can, and you can win. I know in my community, I think the person, we got to pick, I think there were 3 open seats. And I think the vote count at the end, because I looked, was like 1,200 votes. I'm like, that's winnable. Some of you don't even know that's winnable. You can win a seat with 1,200 votes. You can get 1,200 votes, especially if you have done what Tiffany has done in her community in Newark. Invite people in, know your neighbors. So it's not such a shock when you show up. As many, she talked about Ras Baraka, who's from Newark. A lot of, Cory Booker's in Congress right now. He's a senator, sitting senator, one of the 5 black senators that we have in our Congress. And, for many people, he didn't win the first time he ran for mayor of Newark, even though he moved into one of these tenement buildings. And I think he rescued a dog and was out in the streets. You could see him out in the streets, but he wasn't from there. It was a stepping stone. It was always a stepping stone. And I'm going to say this with my full chest, because I covered his first run when he lost. I spent a lot of time with him. And I'm not saying he wasn't earnestly caring about the people of Newark, but it was an absolute stepping stone. It wasn't about building there. Sharp James is from there. There's still vestiges, and we could talk about Sharp James and corruption. We could talk about Stacey Abrams today, because we should have these conversations, because it makes it difficult to support when there are these things that you also have to defend. Marion Barry, you know, but I'd rather defend somebody that is fighting for me, even if they've done some things that, I'm like, come on, ma'am, sir, what are you doing? But at least there's, I became a lifeguard in a pool that Sharp James envisioned for kids from the hood to swim. It is one of the most beautiful JFK swimming facilities in the summertime. The whole roof retracts. It is amazing. In the winter, they give lessons, and the lifeguards that come out of there get to make $10, $11, $12 an hour. These kids, so beautiful, the lifeguard instructors. It was just a nice environment. I never felt afraid going there, and I would be there at night learning, swimming those 40 laps. It was crazy. It was a lot. But I learned in a swimming facility that was open to the children, to the public. And it had a gym across the way, which I never went to. I was staying in the pool area, but Sharp James wanted that. And there were pools all over Newark because Black kids couldn't swim for a long time in swimming pools that they would pour concrete in because they didn't want our Black bodies in there. This man was committed to making sure so he had some corruption stuff because power corrupts. But he also has, seeds because that's where he's from. And we should have accountability at the same time as people who represent us actually being from the place.
Introducing a new podcast. Karen Hunter is awesome.
If you like me on SiriusXM Urban View Channel 126, you're going to love me. And Karen Hunter is awesome. Hey, this is Karen Hunter, host of The Karen Hunter Show on SiriusXM's Urban View. Karen Hunter is Awesome is an actual podcast to bring heat and energy and knowledge and power. A 1-2 punch that I don't think you get anyplace else. Tell the truth. So check out the podcast wherever you get your podcast. You will not be disappointed.
Karen Hunter is Awesome, a new podcast from Karen Hunter.